In the previous chapter of Blue Lock, France had the ball as the game restarted, but we also received a glimpse of Hugo and Loki's past, and in chapter 343 we explore that. So let's not waste any more time and dive right in. This chapter is titled Vivian Hugo, and I swear his name was spelt with an A instead of an E in the last chapter. Anyways, we flash back to 2 years ago at the French team under 18 training area. Here, Hugo is explaining some tactics and formations to other players, stating that if they were able to slip behind the defense at a speed of 20 miles per hour, then with a pass speed of at least 27 feet per second, he then begins to shuffle around the pieces on the board as if his mind is running a mile a minute. Afterwards, he has the audacity to ask the other France players if they understand. Of course, the two of them have no idea what he's talking about, with one of them saying it's impossible, whilst the other can't comprehend if this is calculation or intuition, claiming that Hugo is nuts. The man in question is quite confused, looking perplexed, as if he couldn't believe what he was hearing, because he thought that this was normal for everyone. But with his teammates reiterating that it's not, Hugo, with a melancholic look on his face, sadly states that they just don't get it. Meanwhile, the narrator claims that Vivian Hugo is destined to seek what would make him suitable to win the World Cup 4 times. As this is stated, we witness Hugo reading a blank book, which is really funny because this is an actual blank book. His character profile claims that he does this to organize his thoughts, but instead of simply taking a piece of paper and a pen to write down his thoughts or read an actual book, he goes the extra mile to read a blank book, which is amazing. Regardless, Hugo begins to visualize his plan, acknowledging that he needs an environment, a coach, a team, and a trustworthy relationship where he can strive as second best. He also needs a world-class striker, as, at the same time, we see an image of Noah. However, Hugo thinks that since Noah is almost 30, they would only be able to win the World Cup once or twice. That is why he needs a new number one. The narrator states, whilst we see France players practicing, that Vivian Hugo proceeds undauntedly towards his mission, needing to refine the people he needs to achieve his dream. We then see Hugo chastising a player, this dude right here named Gabriel, with the most deadpan look ever, like a disappointed father, saying that Gabriel was half a second too slow and declaring that he cannot become the world's best like that. He then has the audacity to ask if he understands, and Hugo is speaking to this man, who's similar to him in age by the way, as if he was 5 years old. In other words, he thinks you're an idiot. But Gabriel says that he isn't Hugo's tool and that he doesn't care for his ideas. He's the striker, so he doesn't need to listen to an arrogant individual as he grips his shirt, ready for a fight. Yet Hugo does not care one bit, apologizing for overestimating him, and proceeds to humiliate this man even further, calling him a disposable, middle-grade striker who's suitable for being the 130th best in the world, and that is disrespectful. Personally, I wouldn't take that. Gabriel is triggered and aims for a punch to Hugo's face, and as the narration continues, saying that Vivian Hugo learned the creatures known as strikers are absolute egotists, Loki suddenly appears and blocks Gabriel's punch, saying that Gabriel just lacks the talent. Both Hugo and Gabriel are surprised as Loki introduces himself and asks if they could change out all these people. The narrated text states that Vivian Hugo encounters an unknown life form. The coach then introduces Loki to the team as a new player who is advancing from the lower level to join this team. Loki politely bows and asks for them to excuse his actions earlier, and as he raises his head, he states that while he's alive, he's going to win the World Cup a few times, and that if they can't keep up, then they should just leave. So in other words, Loki called them NPCs and told them to lock the hell off. The other teammates are confused by his arrogance, but Hugo is enthralled by him, looking more excited than when he scored his own goal, with his aura and eye widening. He's memorized by Loki's arrogance, his gallantry, his absurdity, and it's official. Hugo is Loki's #1 fan. As we zoom onto Hugo's eye, which is observing Loki in a running motion, Hugo acknowledges him as an organism that is born to be #1. And my goodness, Hugo is glazing heavily. Loki is not Jesus, you know. Anyways, we cut to a time where Loki and Hugo are sitting down chilling. Loki begins the conversation stating that the world is cruel, that the talentless can never beat the talented, but our free society spurs them on to try anyway. This is the harsh rule of the world. Hugo agrees, because at the end of the day, the talented and the talentless can never understand each other. He begins to state his dream, that all he wants to do is win the World Cup 4 times. Loki at first just blankly looks at him and then laughs. And I can't believe I'm going to say these next few words, but he says that's so fire, and I can feel the cringe inside of me. Loki understands that Hugo was dead serious about his statement. Hugo blankly responds, saying big time, and Loki continues laughing, stating that he's never met anyone with a dream as tyrannical as his, as we then flash forward back towards the Japan vs France match as the game restarts. Hugo goes forwards with the ball as Loki stays back. Isagi is confused by this, recognizing the play that I just said. Stop reading my mind, Isagi. As Hugo rushes forwards, Layden and Camus appear next to him. Layden asks if they are doing that, whilst Camus is just saying some random stuff, talking about some frost breeze, and I don't even know what that means. Isagi acknowledges how both wings are closing in on the middle, and wow, you don't say, it's not like I can't read. As we then see Layden and Camus circling Hugo, doing God knows what, something akin to Naruto Shippuden, with Layden looking like Naruto with the Sage of Six Paths power. Hugo, with his Metavision eyes activated, at least I think his Metavision, I don't know, some people say otherwise, says the corniest thing ever, talking about some beep beep shortcut found. And if Hugo wasn't a cool New Gen 11, I would have dethroned him as one of my favorites. He activates this maneuver called the loophole dribble, and here's the play-by-play. As Camus goes to the left, Isagi rushes in his direction. Layden goes to the right with Karasu facing him, whilst Hugo zigzags across them using the wingers as decoys to get past Isagi, Karasu, and Rail. Rail recognizes the play, understanding that the past courses were decoys, as Hugo is going on his own. Karasu understands that there's still a pass coming, as Blue Lock should keep an eye on the wings. Meanwhile, Kunigami approaches, attempting to press Hugo, understanding that all they gotta do is crush the guy calling the shots. And good luck with that, Kunigami. We tried that a lot of times and it didn't work, so I don't think it will work now. Kunigami pressures Hugo, but he holds him back and keeps the ball away from him. And as Hugo says it's destined, Loki appears behind him, stating that preparations are complete. And what do you mean by that? What are you gonna do? This surprises Kunigami, who wonders if this was what they were after. They wanted Blue Lock clustered in the midfield so that both Loki and Hugo could strike from behind. Loki then uses his Godspeed to zoom past Hugo, getting past Karasu and Aryu as Hugo sends an overhead pass saying zoom, and what a corny guy, and calls the procedure warped synchronicity. Loki is now ahead, with Aryu unable to reach him, and why is he still on the pitch? But IQ heads Loki's way to stop him, thinking that he can make it. And please IQ, beat the fraud allegations. He thinks he can tackle him, even if it means getting a foul. But Loki speeds up even more, which surprises him. He understands that Loki is speeding without looking at the pass, similarly to Hiyori and Isagi and Shido and Charles. Hugo then analyzes the play, the same one from the beginning, that running at 23 miles per hour with a backspin pass at 28 feet per second, that's the suitability to be the world's best. The narrative text states that Vivian Hugo knows that the combination of his talent with Julian Loki's is the sort of rarity that comes once in 50 years. Meanwhile, Loki is still running and Aiko still tries to reach him as the ball is in the air. And Gagomaru is just watching all of this happen. He internally panics as he states that It's a pinpoint pass to a spot that nobody can reach even if they saw it. Loki is running in tandem at his maximum speed for a joint finisher, and this is the best and second best at work. Gagamaru knows what they're doing, but he still can't stop them. Damn, Gagamaru is on fraud watch now. He's about to concede another goal. As we see Loki activating Predator's Eye, and Kaneshiro is just giving this ability to everybody now. He then scores, with Aiku failing to stop him, and Gagamaru unable to do anything, with the latter realizing that this is the pure violence of talent. As Hugo witnesses this, the narrator says that Vivian Hugo dreams of changing soccer history and creating a legend. The score is now 3-2 with France in the lead as Loki jumps in the air screaming and Isagi looks on in wonder while Hugo simply states, good. But anyways, this is where the chapter ends. Overall, this was a fantastic chapter. We finally witnessed Loki score a goal after being a bit disappointing during the first half of the match. However, whilst the goal was good, Hugo was still the best one in the procedure. Personally, Loki still needs another goal or two to beat the supposed fraud allegations. Secondly, Rin and Charles were nowhere to be seen. Rin has been MIA for a while now, and I have no idea what purpose, if at all, he will serve in this game. And Charles, after his goal, has been made obsolete. I wonder what his purpose will be, especially since Hugo is here to help Loki be the world's #1. And this is where I think that Charles, if Kaneshiro doesn't forget about him, is being trained to be Hugo's replacement or Hugo 2.0, but one who is more unpredictable. We saw that in the PXG game when Shido and Charles did a no-look pass. This got Loki very excited. And we see in this chapter that this no-look pass was something that Hugo and him could do without fail. So I think Loki needs Charles to be just like Hugo, giving him more scoring opportunities in matches. Additionally, when Hugo mentioned that the no-look pass was the procedure to be the world's best, I couldn't help but think of Isagi and Hiyori's goal in the Ubers match, especially when Hiyori mentioned that if Isagi was the real deal, then they would take their visualizations of the world's best and smash it in together. So I'm not sure if the no-look pass as well as Predator's Eye is a step to being the world's best, but perhaps there's a correlation to be found. Anyways, thank you all for watching. If you enjoyed what you saw, watch the other videos on my channel, as well as like, comment, share, subscribe, and all that good stuff. And I'll see you all in the next video.